There's a weird corner of the internet where people spend thousands of dollars on Android-based digital audio players, claiming they sound better than your phone, better than your computer, better than anything else. And if you're part of the audio quest, then nothing is ever good enough unless you sprinkle them with little fairy dust. But when you strip away the marketing and actually look at what's inside those so-called audiophile players, you realize they're often nothing more than repackaged budget Android tablets or phones with a DAC chip inside and a fancy aluminum shell. So I wanted to test that idea to see what happens if you skip the audiophile part entirely. And here's what I found. This cheap, nameless $75 tablet from Amazon, the kind that screams, "Please don't buy me," might actually be the best way to experience your music library without falling for the hype. Let's be honest. As a tablet, this thing is god awful. It is slow, it's laggy, it creaks when you pick it up, the cameras are straight out of 2012, and it cannot run anything graphically demanding. Scrolling feels like dragging a rock uphill, and opening multiple Chrome tabs is asking for a crash. But for audio, well, that's a different story. See, music playback barely taxes a CPU. You don't need 8 cores or liquid cooling to run a FLAC file, despite what FIO and some other audiophile brands might want you to believe. All you need is stable Android, a decent USB stack, and the ability to run apps like Onkyo Music Player, AIMP, or PowerAmp, and of course there are several others. And all of those actually run perfectly fine on this $75 cheap-ass tablet. And frankly, it's almost funny. The very things that make this tablet bad at being a tablet make it good as an audio transport. No bloat, no background app chaos, just music. This tablet has a micro SD card slot, something most modern phones and tablets have abandoned. You get a headphone jack, which is practically extinct at this point, a USB-C port that can output digital audio to any USB DAC or dongle that you might have or might want in the future. So for $100, you have an expandable music player with wired headphone output, digital output, and access to every Android music app on Earth. Meanwhile, audiophile companies will sell you a $1,000 high-res DAP that does basically the same thing. Now, here's what surprised me. The headphone output of this $75 cheap tablet isn't all that terrible. It has enough current for most dynamic driver headphones, even some up to 150 ohm sets, and I think those will be fine. Where it struggles is with sensitive IEMs. You will hear a bit of hiss and sometimes faint distortion if you're using low impedance headphones. So think of the Campfire Audio Andromedas and don't use those for tablets like these. However, the moment you plug in a simple USB-C dongle DAC, the kind that costs $20, all of that vanishes. Cleaner signal, no audible noise floor, more headroom, done. With 32 ohms or higher impedance headphones, the built-in jack is honestly usable. You're not going to get hi-fi bragging rights, but you will get perfectly fine sound for casual listening, or even serious listening if you're honest with yourself. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, audiophile DAPs. Companies like Aslan Kern, FIO, Shanling, Hibi, and Abazo have been dumping new DAPs into the market every single year. Every generation promises the ultimate portable experience, yet none of them actually solve any of the problems that make DAPs impractical. They just keep getting bigger, heavier, and more expensive. Some of them cost more than an iPhone, yet they use processors that are years behind what's in your budget Android phone. And even the cheaper ones, the ones that cost $200 to $400, aren't any faster than this $75 tablet. Those DAPs rarely optimize their Android systems and sometimes just reskin the UI to hide all those background processes that stock Android performs. In fact, you can see this happening in even $1,000 or $2,000 digital audio players. However, all of these products offer far less usability than this $75 throwaway, really junky tablet. See, with those digital audio players, you are stuck with a small screen, stripped down Android, and a clunky interface that often lags worse than the device you're already carrying in your pocket, namely your phone. Sure, these digital audio players are pocketable, but that's always the defense, and frankly, it's getting less acceptable given that these digital audio players keep getting bigger, heavier, and hotter. And if portability is the goal, you already have something better: your phone. And unlike a digital audio player, your phone can also make calls, browse the web, navigate maps, run Spotify, YouTube Music, or Apple Music, all while connected to a tiny USB DAC that costs less than lunch. Why complicate things with another underpowered gadget that only does one thing and doesn't even do it particularly well? And once that digital audio player's non-replaceable battery starts to die, or the screen cracks, or the company stops pushing Android updates, which, by the way, hint hint, they never do, guess what? You're left to your own devices. Because none of these audiophile brands support their products after sale. That has been proven over and over and over again. There are digital audio players from just 3 or 4 years ago that can't even log into Tidal anymore because the software was never updated, and so the handshake cannot be completed. So you've basically bought an overpriced brick with a headphone jack, unless you intend to try to resell it on eBay later for a significant depreciated value, and then you're just constantly throwing money away. Frankly, I have kept my LG V30 phone because it's a very simple, very smooth audio transport. SD card? Check. Headphone jack? Check. Good processor and sufficient RAM for the old Android it runs? Check. My V30 is absolutely a security risk, which is why I don't put my personal information on it beyond the Google login. And I only connect to the internet to download from the App Store on the rare occasions I need anything, or when one of these streaming services needs an update. I gotta tell you, not a single audiophile digital audio player with all its buzzwords and marketing and hype men and fanboys will be enough to distance me from the reality that I see. That's why this cheap tablet is kind of, well, refreshing, arguably. It's not pretending to be an audiophile grade device. It's not wrapped in CNC milled aluminum or covered in marketing buzzwords like femtoclock or ultra-linear analog section. It's just an Android tablet that happens to work perfectly well as a digital audio player, even though it struggles to do almost anything else that you may want it to. You can install any music app you like, connect your DAC of choice, and expand storage up to multiple terabytes with microSD cards. And if it ever breaks down or slows down beyond usability, who really cares? You just replace it for under $100. It's ironic, but the device audiophiles would never consider is the one that actually gives them what they wanted all along: a simple, flexible, affordable way to play music without that baggage. So, yeah, as a tablet, this thing is a piece of junk. But as an audiophile transport, well, I think it's brilliant in its simplicity. You can store your entire music library, output clean digital audio, and run your favorite player apps, all for the price of an accessory cable at Astral & Kern. It's a reminder that sound quality isn't about price or branding. It's about smart engineering and a realistic expectation. And right now, realism means recognizing that a $75 junk tablet can outperform a $1,000 audiophile DAP in everything that actually matters. Sometimes the best way to hear the truth is through something no one bothered to market as high-end or audiophile grade.